of American citizens of Japanese descent being rounded up. Over 100,000 of them were interned in detention camps in California, Arizona, Oregon, and Washington State. This was done by executive order by FDR, and it was carried out by the military generals, General DeWitt on the Western Command. And so we had that precedent, even in our own history. Number 8 is we will not obey any orders to use foreign troops on U.S. soil to keep the peace or maintain control. And the reason why this is on this list is in the founders' experience, it was the use of foreign mercenaries, the Hessians, which was one of the more grievous affronts and led to the Declaration of Independence, quite frankly. They had, even during the fighting after April 19, 1775, there was still hope they could reconcile and remain part of the British Empire. But when the Crown used foreign troops on them, that's when they drew a line and said, this is just so outrageous. It's one of the reasons why they separated. Number 9 is we will not obey orders to confiscate the property of the American people, including food and other essential supplies. And once again, this is a recognition and reflection of the fact that denial of food has been used as a weapon in warfare for thousands of years. It's also a reflection of the asserted authority of the president to confiscate property and confiscate food. There's been many executive orders since the Cold War that assert this supposed power of the president to go and seize industries and seize supplies. And even had Truman seizing the steel mills during the Korean War, as it actually happened. And that was ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court only because Congress had expressly declared that he couldn't do that. But it left open, wherever Congress has not said no, it's left open, an open question about whether a president can do these things. And so it almost affirmed that he can, under some circumstances, go and seize entire industries. Number 10 is we will not obey orders to infringe on the people's right to assembly, to freedom of speech, freedom of association, and freedom of religion, which is simply a reflection of our First Amendment protected guarantees of our rights to assemble and petition government for redress of grievances and freedom of speech and assembly. These are every bit as important as anything else. And even though it's number 10, it's as important as number 1. If you don't have freedom of speech and assembly, then you no longer have any peaceful recourse whatsoever for correction of government abuse. We have quite a few who have joined. Out of 10,000 current members we have right now, a fair number are active duty. But a lot of them are kind of staying under the radar because they're concerned about being purged or persecuted. And so I always tell them, don't worry. I don't care if you officially join or not. The main thing is you keep your oath. It's there as the antidote against obedience, blind obedience to the man on the white horse, whether he be a general, whether he be a president, whoever he is. And they understood that people will be tempted to go along and just do as they're told. This is just the tendency of men in uniform. So the oath is there as an antidote to make sure that it reminds them of their obligations.
Governments are notorious for creating panic to get public support for legislation and emergency measures that the population would not otherwise consider. The United States government is no different. Whether it concerns war with other nations, battling a disaster in our own country, or control over the population during natural or health emergencies, governments instill fear to coerce the population to give up their rights in order to cooperate. The mainstream media is complicit in exciting panic among the people as well. The media's role during the H1N1 flu scare was clear.
Swine flu normally infects pigs, but this virus is a new strain.
These are a new swine influenza virus. They're new for pigs and they are new for people.
The plans are already in place to force the non-compliant public to cooperate. You can be removed from your home, by force if necessary, mandatorily quarantined and vaccinated against your will. Your children can be removed from schools and taken to safe yet undisclosed locations until it is deemed safe for their return. This is all under the guise of protecting our nation. What has happened to our free country? Little by little, we are losing our constitutional rights, yet most Americans are paying little or no attention. People do not understand that these egregious powers are not being proposed. They are already in place, ready for federal, state, or local officials to act upon during a state of emergency. You will not get a say. You will lose your freedom to speak out. You will lose your right to privacy as troops force their way into your home to search without a warrant. You will lose your right to be secure in your home, even if you have plenty of supplies and are prepared to stay. You will lose your right to be armed as troops go door to door, person to person, confiscating your legally owned firearms. You will see military in the streets of this country, carrying out the will of an unrestrained government as they round up free U.S. citizens. Some state governments pass measures to forcibly quarantine residents, incarcerate those who refuse to be vaccinated, and to forcibly vaccinate your children. Legislation like this passed during the much-hyped H1N1 flu outbreak. Training has already occurred to carry out many of these measures. Reminiscent of the forcing from their homes and the internment of U.S. citizens during World War II, all of this has already happened on U.S. soil. How will you be able to defend your family? How will you react when they cart your children off to an undisclosed location because the government thinks it can protect your children better than you? Will your family's survival be up to you, or will it be up to an out-of-control government and its alphabet agencies, most of which have failed the American people over and over again? Are you going to blindly follow a government that has shown time and time again it has no respect for your constitutional rights? These rights are inalienable. They cannot be taken, and we cannot give them up. Yet Congress and various administrations encroach on our rights all the time. Will you give up your family willingly? Will you voluntarily become a captive of one of these quarantine or detention camps? What will you do? Will you go quietly?
This is the total federalization / internationalization with this huge control grid that is meant to protect the establishment from the people as they expand their tyranny. Because they expect for you to resist them as this corruption expands, as a rebellion forms against this Hitlerian takeover. And you're going to be named, you're going to be listed as a terrorist because you don't submit to them and become their slave.